This is 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank. I'm Nick Roush. He's Adam Luckett. Monticello Bank. They've got all your banking needs covered, no matter what it may be. They got you. They got your back. Savings, loans, whatever it is. NBCbank.com is where you find them. They're also in 15 counties, 21 different locations across the Commonwealth. Been serving you since 1895. Monticello Bank. It's where people matter. Monticello Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, and proud presenting sponsors of 11 Personnel. Look at our first week in the bag, full week. How we feeling?
Nice. We're establishing a little rhythm here, Nick Roush, and that feels good. Establishing a rhythm for football season. Everyone getting ready. And then we don't get it this week, but next week we get a payoff. We get some college football games on the tube on Saturday. NC State, Virginia, North Carolina, TCU,
Mm-hmm.
I think we might even talk about some characters that are in those two kind of feature games. So excited to
Yes.
have some football to watch. Then before you know it, it'll be UK game week, and we'll be at the stadium. And so fun time of year, ready to get it going.
The final fall camp scrimmage is Saturday. Will Stein, Jay Bateman, and Joe Sloan are going to speak after it. We'll have everything you need on Kentucky Sports Radio. Updates from the press conference, KSR Plus. If you aren't on KSR Plus, the fall camp sale still happening right now. $30 for a year of KSR Plus. A big year for Will Stein, big year for Mark Pope. Just go ahead, $30. That's nothing. Just go ahead, lock it in, sign up now. It's a great offer, the best offer the folks at On 3 HQ have ever given out. So go ahead, join us right now. We are throwing you for a little bit of a curveball. We promised you a Kentucky fantasy football draft. Well, Peak forgot to tell us that he's just out today. Yeah, we're gonna want his expertise, and just it'll be more fun to have Peak involved for that one. So we're gonna wait until he gets back. Do that next week. Instead, I thought this would be a good time to refresh some folks, right? Like it's preseason for all of us. It's going to take us a while to get our bearings because you're locked in throughout the portal season and through the coaching carousel. But like so much is happening, it's hard to keep up with it all. So today we are going to use this opportunity to just remind you where some of those familiar faces are in new places so that you aren't completely staggered once the season starts in week one. Well, let's start with some of the Kentucky guys, like it, because you know they, it just I don't know, like the one that people forget about is the Kentucky Hawaii transfer portal pipeline that was established a couple of years ago, and it's now sending multiple players back to the power conference level. DeKel Crowdis playing Big Ten football this year. The Frederick Douglass product didn't do much at Kentucky. Can you name DeKel Crowdis's uh, one shining moment at Kentucky?
Did he is he in the Did he get cleared or something? I thought he was out. Did he get cleared?
Oh, he is out now.
Yeah, he was a 21 guy, so last year would have been his
Oh,
last year,
oh
unless he was
man.
in one of the lawsuits. Now, Brandon White is still.
See, that was the other
Did
one
you get them mixed up?
because Crowdis went to Wisconsin.
That's
Um,
correct.
yeah, still remember being in the room when he's getting interviewed, and he like was like, I forgot what game he caught a couple passes, so they bring him out, and he's like, oh, so why do you think it took a while to get involved in the offense? Probably the play caller, and he's just
Right.
backing the
That's the
bus
moment.
up over Scangarello.
That's the moment. And then, if like a week later, Tavian Robinson just doesn't go in a game or whatever that was. So yeah, that was the end of the 2022 season. Nick, like if we were ever gonna do like oral histories on this show, 2022, and
Yeah,
like that was to me like a lot of things happened in that year that were signals that this was over. Like there's no
yeah.
real coming back from this. There was a lot of things that happened in that 2022 season. We could kind of, and even the off season before that season, right? As soon as that calendar turned, I think to January 2022, and after the Citrus Bowl, after they beat Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, that's when there was a lot of things that happened that could be discussed and put together.
Well, here's something I've never shared before. It might have been a dumb move in hindsight to turn down this opportunity. Um, but I had my second child coming that fall. There was just a lot of stuff already going on with the website. That was going to be a lot, but so it was going to be really challenging to take on this additional burden, and that's why I didn't do it. But Mark Stoops actually agreed to let me embed with the team behind the scenes and to write a book about that season. And I think about what I could have seen and heard during that time. Like it would have been. I initially the thought was this is going to be a big year, so let me get a little inside access during the season and then write about it afterwards. Instead, it would have been more like a season on the brink.
Right. Which I feel like that's how those books work out. Like typically,
Yeah,
typically that's what happened with books like that. Yeah, that would have been an interesting.
I know, man.
I
That
mean,
that
because so much happened. Honestly, it's honestly a book, Nick, where you probably wouldn't have you would wanted to publish it like a few years after, once all the dust had settled.
right. But man, like the going back to the surprising phone call. I mean, Levis and Stoops being at spring practice and Cohen's telling them like, I hate to have to do this, but I have to do this. I got to go to the Rams. Like from that point just on, it just spiraled in so many different directions. But yeah, what could have been, what could have been. But you to get back to our original topic at hand, these surprising portal moves. I had completely memory hulled Brandon White from existence because, I mean, he didn't really play his senior year at Moeller. He comes to Kentucky, never really plays, but goes to Hawaii. And now, look at, I just Googled Brandon White, and the headline, how Brandon White became the breakout star of the offseason for Kansas State. So, coupled with the coaching change, bringing in Colin Klein, they lost their preseason all Big 12 starting left tackle. I haven't looked into it yet, but when we do our season win totals next week, look at Kansas State under might be a play.
Yeah, actually, like I went through that. Kansas State's got a very good schedule though for Colin Klein year one. That was kind of, they were like maybe a sneaky over team, but yeah, that's a big loss for them. Brandon White, it's one of those guys that would get lost in the shuffle. Today at KSR, I had a full list, Nick, of where old Kentucky players who is playing FBS football this year. There's 38 of them, 38 former Kentucky players by my count that are playing somewhere in the FBS. Now, some, power conference programs, obviously like Cutter Boley and Kamari Anderson at Arizona State, and then some group of six guys, right? Anthony Brown Stevens, Tulane,
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Keenum's at Memphis. Remember that name?
Yeah, he took a bag at Mississippi State and just never played, which, I mean, good for him getting paid.
Similar,
Uh,
like an Evan Wibberly type thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah, very,
That
very
happened.
similar.
That happened. The Western Kentucky transfer, kid from Northern Kentucky, Wibberly, Dixie Heights, I believe, high school. Now
Yeah.
it sounded like he's going to be Louisville starting center this
Yeah.
season.
And, there was a couple fan accounts that were like, well, it's just till we get this guy back. But Louisville had to move their starting center to play left tackle because their left tackle got
Right.
injured, which that
Right.
does not
That
that does
Delaware
not sound good.
transfer, Anwar O'Neal, was one of their bigger gets. Yeah, Lance Robinson, who's been there a while, former transfer, he's kind of utility man. He's played all over
Hmm.
the line for them. But yeah, they had to kick him out to left tackle because Anwar O'Neal is hurt. They don't really know what his status is. And then the tackle that had that long injury history, Casey Henry, is actually healthy right now at right tackle, the South Carolina transfer. So Louisville, very interesting. Louisville's an interesting team because they're like the offensive line, that whole situation, and then like I would say defensive tackle and defensive tackle depth. Like to me, that's where they could get in some trouble this season if those things fail, and that's not something you want to necessarily
Hmm.
have. But they have the pieces around them, so that's something to watch for when the games start for Louisville.
The you mentioned Brown Stevens. I wanted to go back to him briefly because like he is a guy that like the portal that this is where the portal is a good thing because things weren't working out at Kentucky, but you know what? At the G5 level, he's a pretty darn good receiver. 41 receptions last year for 523 yards. Not really a big, explosive sort of, going to put up a bunch of touchdowns. But like he's a good player at the G5 level, really good player. So, oh yeah. Here, one other behind the scenes thing we got to peel back the curtain on. Um, we aren't recording this at 6 o'clock on Friday night. Luckett and I, we have things going on Friday nights at 6, so recording a little early. Um, so yeah, we have a little breaking news during the show. The judge seesaw has continued, Luckett. The judge seesaw has continued, and now it looks like all of these 2021 guys or 2022 athletes are no longer going to be able to play college athletics. We talked about this on Thursday's show, but the 10th Circuit was the superseding. That was the one. That was the big one, right? If the NCAA won in the 10th Circuit, then all these 2022 guys would have to just, sorry, unless you get your own specific injunction, you're out. Um, so it's kind of hard to parse through on the fly, but I think the immediate response as it pertains to Kentucky football is this is bad news for Alex Afari, Adam Luckett.
Yes. Basically, like what we know now, he would need to go to court. He probably should have been on that same thing as Rob Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Louisville players did. Like, right, D'Angelo Hutchinson, some of the other players are on there. So that's what they would need. Now, could you go and get that? I don't see. I mean, they're passing. I was under the impression, I guess I should say, that this 10th Circuit would rule above them. Now, they granted a stay. I don't think a stay is a ruling. I think that is just we're going to go through the process. So it's like a gag order. So in this meantime, you can't move anywhere. So I guess you can't move anywhere unless you have the TRO, the temporary restraining order. That's now I got to get this. This is just me live trying to figure this out. So I think that now if they go through this court and it comes back that these guys are ineligible, I wonder if even if they have this TRO, could they come back and say these players are ineligible?
That's the part where like the legal process. So I was a political science major. One of my favorite classes was what was it? Law and courts and stuff. But basically, you learn the structure of our legal system from district to circuit courts, federal. Like it was kind of fun because it's like, oh, well, that now I know how this works. The issue is that the system is large, and in that class, I'm mostly learning it on a localized level, whereas you have all of these different states. The 10th Circuit is a federal court. So, like,
yeah, right.
So, that's where it gets complicated. And then, if this appeal happens, it should override the injunction. But, like, that's where it gets complicated because you're like, in the most specialized version of these cases, and football season starts in 2 weeks. So, that to get back to the Louisiana players, yesterday, I guess that still means they're good, but it's very difficult to just discern all of this because our expertise. I took that class like I don't know, 15 years ago or so, right? Like I've been studying football. I haven't been studying legal doctrine as of late.
Yeah, I think just there's some stuff to parse through. I just want to make this clear. The NCAA knew what they were doing with this. Like, they weren't just – I don't think they were being dumb or necessarily negligent in their minds when they made this rule. I think they knew this, and they were ready. I think they felt like if they got to court, this could they could do what's happening now. They could win, potentially. And them getting this stay to me now, there will be an expedited hearing. We'll have to see when the date of this hearing is in the 10th Circuit. But it could be a thing, Nick, where we just get too far down the tracks in football.
Right. Yeah.
We might just get too far down the tracks where players can't play. Now basketball's a different story.
Right.
because it's in baseball too. There's going to be baseball players and other sports will probably be involved too. But football, I just don't know if we're too far down the tracks because wasn't there talk this week about like Kentucky volleyball, Ava Hudson potentially coming back?
There was, but that always. I mean,
I mean, they're already aren't
she
they
played a
playing? They're
year.
about to they're about to play games,
They're
right?
playing tonight, and she played a year professionally. It wasn't like these guys who were just on training camps. It's a little
Well,
bit
that's the
different,
thing.
you know.
That's the thing with baseball. We talked about this on Pump It Up this week. Ira Austin was playing independent league, like in Lexington. Like is he like he? They're trying to come back, but is that can they even do that? I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to, see like what is what. So yeah, just it's a mess right now. But I think the NCAA knew what they were doing, and that's the path
So it
they've
just
taken.
it's
They're trying.
infuriating for
They
fans.
they have roadblocks that they're putting up right now, right? Like Sankey's doing the thing where he's saying like potentially Mark Mitchell can't go because he's basketball versions of a he's
Hmm.
basically a ghost transfer, basketball's version of a spring portal. They're not gonna um, they don't want to allow that specifically in the SEC. So like they're putting up some roadblocks here, and we'll see. And that's why I've been skeptical for the football stuff because I just didn't know if it would be worth the fight for these teams this late in the calendar, right? Like what is too late to have somebody that can help? I guess you can pick some like it. You compare it to picking someone off the waiver wire or whatever,
Hmm.
but what is too late here? But for right now, what we know is the TROs are good. So if Mark Mitchell wins his case at some point today, that's a good step in the right direction. But for a guy like Alex Safari who doesn't have
Yeah.
the TRO or injunction, he he would probably have to go find a case somewhere, which could be possible. Like there's some popping up. You just got to get your name on there.
Oh
And heck,
man.
who's to say he can't pop up on this one? Can
Right.
his name
Yeah.
be put on it today before the judge rules? Who knows?
Well, and you just hearing it was Sam Green talk about just like how happy Afari was to be back because he thought he was done. Like that. It's got to suck for these kids just the seesaw. And I know that you don't. Many people probably aren't empathizing with these old guys who are trying to get an extra year, but the back and forth just emotionally has to be exhausting. So we'll try our best to keep you informed and up to date, but things are changing by the minute, by the day, and hey, that's why we're glad we're going daily here on 11 Personnel on the KSR YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll have all the press conference coverage tomorrow, and hell, who knows? Maybe there'll be some more crazy breaking news, and we'll have to rapidly react. You never know. You never know
You
what's going
never
to
know.
happen.
You never
Um,
know. What a sport.
yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, let's get back to some more of the silliness that we promised you at the start of the show. One of those is that I wanted to bring up was Tamiwa Durajaye because he started his career at Kentucky. Was real well liked. Like he was very involved, but I mean he was a 3-4 defensive end who wasn't going to play right away. So he opts in the portal, goes to West Virginia. Had a pretty good year at West Virginia. I want to say it was the backyard brawl or maybe the game at Penn State at the beginning of the year where he had a big play. But performed pretty well in his second year. Then transfers to Florida State. They were really bad that year. Things didn't go well. I think that was the poop year. But
It
then,
was.
yeah, and then ends up at Illinois, and now he is back for another
Had a good
season.
year.
Uh, but maybe I guess he took a red shirt at Kentucky, so he could, even if, um, though he's a 2022er,
He's a
uh,
fifth. He gets
yeah,
five no matter what. Yeah.
he'll get his fifth at South Carolina. So Kentucky traveling to play Tomiwa this year for South Carolina.
He's like a version of Dante Dowdell, right? Dante Dowdell, four schools in 4 years. Tommy Waugh, 5 schools in 5 years, all power conference schools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Defensive tackle, he's going to start for South Carolina. He's going to kind of be like their 3-tech defensive tackle there, and they need him to provide some pass rush pop, and he's an even more important addition now when you consider what's going on with Dylan Stewart
Mm-hmm.
not being available. So what's going on there? So they need him to be a plus pass rusher for them this season. And he's going to be joined by Quaysheet Scott in that starting lineup at South Carolina. Quaysheet
Yeah.
Scott is going to be South Carolina's starting nickel this year. That was a guy who started for Kentucky last year. That was a really close recruiting battle. Kentucky really got him because they were in on him early. Like he had a group of 6 recruitment the summer before his senior year. Kentucky has him at a camp. He runs a 4.4 at a camp. Kentucky offers. He commits on the 4th of July. And then South Carolina tries to make a late push, but Kentucky holds on to him. Now he's back at South Carolina playing at home. And so, but Kentucky, he's going to be in that starting lineup when Kentucky goes down there. So 2 former Wildcats will be on that South Carolina defense.
You also mentioned Dowdell previously. It came out during SEC Media Days, but he had an ATV accident in the offseason. Doesn't look like he's going to be back at all this year. At least that's kind of the assumption I'm operating under. Kirby Smart didn't provide a ton of details, but you could probably expect him to miss the entire season down at Georgia. Crazy how many, though, you are going to end up just seeing this fall. I mean, 2 starters on South Carolina. You expect it with the Florida guys, right? As they follow their coach. Cam Dooley goes with Brad White and Chris Collins down to Florida. He'll be their starting safety. Is there another Kentucky Gator that I'm missing, or was that the only one?
That was the only one. I think a little bit surprising.
Yeah. It was a little bit surprising. Kentucky, Florida did the safety swap. Cats get Jordan Castell, and the Gators get Cam Dooley.
Yeah, there wasn't you didn't really see any Tulane players follow Summerall, which I was a little surprised about. There wasn't really that. It's mostly just coaching. Right, it's got Chris Collins, Brad White.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, the McKissick, who was the offensive line coach, goes there. And then, Max Stewart, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, who was kind of like a GA to a quality control coach at Kentucky. He followed White and Collins to Gainesville. He's their assistant linebackers coach. So, you didn't really see a lot of that. And I would assume, maybe they tried to get Amor. I don't know. They did get another highly touted defensive line coach, and I believe Sean Stewart's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Spencer. I think it's Sean Spencer. Yeah, but it's more so with just the coaches, not necessarily the players. Cam Dooley was the only real one.
Elsewhere around the SEC, Sackham Souls is hollering Woo Pig Suey down at Arkansas. I also got a kick out of skating through the graphic, and Darian Henry Young has a 7th next to his name. Not sure he's going to get the green light to be able to play this fall for the Cavaliers, but hey, who knows, right? It's changing. It's changing all the time. You never know. You never know. And before we move on to just college football in general, wanted to mention that it wasn't just Evan Weberly at Louisville. There's a lot of former Cats that went with the big dog. Over under 5.5 games DJ Waller plays in this fall.
Well, it's interesting with Waller because now they're getting a cornerback back with Jamari Mack. Now he needs this probably injunction. We'll see what the ruling is in Kentucky. But he might, it might not be guaranteed that he plays. He might have some competition. So I don't know, Nick. It's hard to say. His injury was weird last year because it felt like the coaches thought he could play.
Well, and then even whenever Stoops got pretty transparent later in the year where when he ever had a setback and he's like, you put on the MRI and there's a thing there, and he's like, what can you do? So it was like he was close. They didn't want to push it. Hamstrings are just very, very fickle.
And I always wonder, we saw this play out like Kentucky the last 2 years, and I think the new eligibility model will help with this.
Yeah.
Dave Rayner, Nasir Addison basically said, I'm not playing because I want a red shirt because I want to get an extra year eligibility.
Yeah.
Which is the setup. Player empowerment. They have that choice now in this era. But now I think this 5 for 5 totally gets rid of that. There's no reason for you not to play, right?
Correct.
You're not hurting yourself when in that you're that.
Yeah, and you hit the mute button on yourself. Like it. I do appreciate. I appreciate that everybody's trying to figure this out in real time while they're live. Matt's doing the same thing. It's very amusing. But one thing I will add with all the eligibility stuff that Ross Dellinger pointed out is that if the NCAA wants to fight these state level TROs, they now have a federal court ruling in their back pocket to use as evidence. So even if Mitchell does get a TRO and all these other guys who have TROs want to try to play with it, the NCAA they've got something to stand on to be able to combat it, if you will. I want to move on to a couple of other crazy portal movements. Just some guys that their name, but you probably just didn't realize they went where they went. And one of them, while doing research for this, that I just completely forgot about. Eric Singleton was one of the biggest names in the portal a year ago out of Georgia Tech, and he goes to Auburn on that loaded roster. We all know what happened with Auburn last year. It was an abomination. But he's getting a fresh start at Florida, which
right. I mean, with reunion with Buster.
Yeah. So Dallas Wilson they brought back as a true sophomore on that roster. Vernell Brown. So they could have they got a pretty good little receiving core if they can figure out their quarterback situation.
Yeah, they need to stay healthy, right? Offensive line is a big one. But, yeah, Singleton was – because remember last year it was like, oh, Auburn's got Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons, and Horatio Fields. Remember that name?
Yeah, Kentucky tried to get Horatio Fields. That was a Georgia Tech guy too, if I'm not mistaken.
Wake Forest,
other golden ACC receiver.
Yeah, so
he's somewhere
he's at Ole Miss.
He's at
Ole Miss. Yeah, so they had all this receiver talent, couldn't do anything, but now it's like, oh, now what do they look like outside of this? Hugh Freeze infrastructure, offensive infrastructure. Can you get them lit up and going? Like Malcolm Simmons was a guy back to the portal, Nick. I really liked. I was a fan of. I thought he could be a guy. Now he's at TCU. So all that, yeah.
Oh
so
man, that's some fun movements.
That's why the portal's so fascinating, because it's how you see things, right? When you look at Eric Singleton, do you see Georgia Tech? Or do you see what happened at Auburn? When you see Horatio Fields, are you looking at Wake Forest or are you looking at Auburn? Right? And Kentucky's kind of the same way, because it's if you see, are you looking at C.J. Baxter his rookie year? Are you looking at Nick Anderson in 2023? Or are you looking at what's happened these last couple of years? So it's really beauty is in the eye of the beholder with these things.
Yeah, the 3D glasses. You're going to look through the red side or the blue side. Right. And that's what you get. You mentioned Auburn, though. This is we normally don't plug other outlets. Max Olson did a story, though, on ESPN to really illustrate how the transfer portal dominoes fall. And quarterback's the easiest one to do it. So he started with Bo Perbula and kind of showed how all these decisions were intertwined. One of those decisions was Kenny Minchie, because Perbula, he gets Virginia. He thinks he's going to Virginia Tech, but James Franklin's like, actually, I'd rather have Gronkmeyer. He's got 3 years, so we're going to take him. So Perbula's like, all right, well, I got to look somewhere else. Let me go to Florida State. Ashton Daniels, the Auburn quarterback, who this is one of those like it that I kind of, it's hard to believe in Mike Norvell, but he's one of those that I look through the blue side of my 3D glasses and I like, because I thought it's hard to be good at Stanford. He beat Louisville that 1 year, was awesome for him. Goes to Auburn, has to deal with Hugh Freeze. As soon as Hugh Freeze is gone, he lights up Vandy. They almost upset Diego Pavia and co on the road. He put some big numbers. But he's going to Florida State. That was one of Perbula's options. Nebraska was an option. Perbula was actually on campus when Anthony Calandria was there, and Calandria said he saw him and was like, yeah, it was a little awkward. So that's a good story about Max Olson. If you want to check it out, you're probably, if you're watching us right now, if you're listening to us, you're probably locked in on how all of this goes. But it does it really illustrates the sense of urgency and just how much you're sort of playing off one another in the portal. It's because it is a zero-sum game like it. You don't want to be stuck without anybody just twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah, it's you just have to make decisions so fast. and
Mm-hmm.
so quick. It's just like when people say speed dating,
Yeah, it's a good
it's
way
really
to
what
put
it
it.
is. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah. There's no. It's the best way to put it.
You've got like in it's almost like you're at a game. You're at the table in Vegas, but you can't pick up the money and take it with you. Like you got to make a decision. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
are you betting on this or that?
Right, right.
Make your pick.
You got to put it on one of those numbers on the roulette wheel. You can't.
Right. You're just
Yeah, yeah.
make a pick. Make a pick. Do you want like? Do you want to play the? Do you want to make the bet that has the best chance of getting you something back, but has a low ceiling, or do you want to make the bet that has a high
Mm-hmm.
ceiling but a low rate of a low hit rate, right? So like you've got
Yeah.
to I mean you're yeah, that's what you're doing. Honestly, it is I know people don't like this word around college sports, but it is like you're gambling. Like you are gambling in some of these situations. You are paying money and you don't necessarily have a great feel for what the return will be.
Right, and the longer you play, the riskier it gets too.
Yeah.
So it's quite the game of Jenga that we have assembled in college athletics right now. Two running backs I wanted to highlight, Luckett. Um, Justice Haynes was at Bama, had a really good year at Michigan, but Michigan didn't keep him, the new coaching staff, and he jumped into the portal to go with Brent Key at Georgia Tech. So I think that's one of the more like you could look up and he could be leading the ACC in rushing.
Well, like we talked about him, he was one of my favorite running backs in the country last year, early in the season. I thought he was awesome. I remember the Nebraska game. Remember, like Michigan only beat Nebraska because they ripped off some long runs, and Haynes had one of them. So he was awesome. Yeah, and I think he fits kind of Brent Key
Yeah,
football, right?
yeah,
Right, and they're bringing an NFL offensive coordinator in, George Gotsey, who came from the Ravens. I think he could have a pretty big year
yeah.
for them.
That's certainly one to watch. And then Hollywood Smothers, Parker Livingstone gets a lot of hype for being a Red River rivalry transfer, but people forget that Smothers started his career at Oklahoma. He was awesome at NC State last year. And then this was another one of those portal flips where he was going to go to Alabama and be the number one guy. Instead, Alabama's got 3 or 4 guys competing for spots, and Smothers is at Texas. So that's another name you'll hear a lot. One name that you might remember from the past, look at, I had to look him up. Remember DeColdis Crawford?
I forgot about him, but now
Yeah.
didn't he have that AC commercial?
Exactly. He was one of the original NIL athletes at Nebraska, had an air conditioning HVAC commercial. Never played at Nebraska, ends up at Louisiana Tech, didn't do anything there. So then he went the JUCO route. He was at Butler Community College, which was Butler where they had the Jason Brown. Was that where he was at, or was that a different Kansas? CC.
I want to say that was Independence.
Yeah, you're right. He was Independence. Butler, Kentucky's recruited some guys from Butler previously.
They got a guy from Butler on the team this year. I believe Braxton Urquhart went to Butler. Yeah.
Here we go. He had a nice little punch out in that Inside Fall Camp video during the scrimmage on Ashton Kozar. But now DeColdis Crawford is at East Texas A&M. So still grinding. He's on the roster, Luckett, but he doesn't have a picture in there. So
yeah, people forget they're directional A&Ms.
There are
people forget.
Oh, Texas! Everything's bigger in Texas. And then this, Luckett, I think people are more aware of the quarterbacks like Austin Simmons at Mizzou, who we mentioned earlier this week. But like DJ Lagway at Baylor, whenever that pops up, I get like, yeah, like there's a bit of like I'm just like, oh, yeah, and also in the DJ Lagway seems to fit the Big 12. He can just stay healthy, slim down.
Let's also remember 2 years ago he was legitimately like the best deep ball passer in college football.
Yeah,
and Jake Spavital is calling plays in Waco. Like that could be legitimately fun in that conference. They could be fun.
Yeah, could be a lot of fun. Do you have any other portal names you want to get to before we get to the coaches? Because the coaches list is a lot more fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, like Max Johnson is quarterback at Georgia Southern.
Max Johnson still playing college football. He was playing in Kroger Field in 2021, correct? Whenever we were playing Colin
Baton Rouge. He had a bunch of injuries, yeah.
And dancing on Coach O's grave in his Vice game. Coach O back at LSU. People forget that.
That's another one. Yeah. Jaden Rashada is back in the SEC.
He was
Remember
at
him?
Georgia as a backup.
Now
He's
he's Mississippi State's backup, Kamario Taylor, who
okay.
a lot of people are excited about. He's QB2.
We didn't mention Max Johnson in the famous shoe throwing game between LSU and Florida. He's at Georgia Southern with who's the coach there now? Didn't the
Clay Helton.
Helton still there? Them
He's probably
Helton
on the hot
guys,
seat this year. Yeah.
those Heltons, they get to a G6 school and they just stay there forever.
And speaking of the Heltons, Tyson Helton's quarterback this year could I know they got the young kid returning from last year that played for him, but Brock Glenn, remember him?
Oh, big recruit for Liam Cohen.
Yeah, was on camped at Kentucky when Liam was here the first time. Ended up was committed to Ohio State for a long time, I believe, then flipped to Ohio, one of those two. Then flipped to Florida State, played against
Yep.
Louisville, and he replaced Jordan Travis. Did not really go well for Brock Glenn at Florida State. Now he finally has left, and he's on the hilltop, on the hill, whatever they call it down there. In,
He's probably at Hilligan's. Yeah.
Probably at Hilligan's. He probably had a cold beer at Hilligan's. It's a safe bet.
Let's move on to some coaches. And, they say, like, sometimes you got to go back to move forward. Who says you can't go home? Right?
Dabo literally said this. He literally said this when he introduced Chad Morris. Like, this is not just the trope. This was literally said into a microphone during a.
I wonder if he had seen any of Big Cat's videos. But yes, he brought back Chad Morris, partying like it's 2017 with The Rock. And man, there's a chance Clemson just stinks. Just absolutely stinks.
I think Taj Boyd is the quarterback's coach there. So, like, they could just, if worst comes to worst, Taj Boyd, go get a TRO. And Chad Morris will call the plays. It'll be like it's 2016 all over again.
I got to say, whenever you say Taj Boyd, that West Virginia bowl game comes up, and that was one of the more shocking results I can remember. Wasn't it like 60?
Yes, but I more remember him for when they beat Ohio State. Like, that was the first, maybe Clemson is dead. But, yes, he was on that when they lost, 60 to 30. Kevin
70
was yeah.
70 to 33 was the final score of that game. Yeah, 70 to 33.
ESPN had a really good feature. Bill Connolly and a couple other people wrote it, how much why scoring's down. Scoring is down, Nick, but points per drive has never really been higher. Some of the efficiency metrics are still really high. It's just the game has been shortened, and defenses have learned that don't give up bombs.
Well, and the rule changes too.
And the rule, and that was
a big one.
That was a really good. It was a really good feature. I would highly advise if you're interested in that at all, because it kind of explains the direction the game is going.
Can you name the quarterback that threw 6 touchdown passes for West Virginia in that game?
Geno.
Yeah, Geno Smith was the quarterback, and do you know who caught 4 of those touchdown passes?
That would be I know. Why can't I think of his?
Oh
name?
Man, this is a good
Number
one.
Why can't I think?
One of the better high school highlight reels.
I know. Great. I can't. Why can't I think of his name?
Tavon Austin.
Man,
I drafted him in fantasy.
Bailey was a receiver on that team too.
Yeah,
that was a fun NCAA football team.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I drafted Tavon Austin so many years, at the end of fantasy football drafts. Maybe
everyone wanted it to work. Everyone wanted it to work.
It just never did. Another one that this is going to really sneak up on you because he's so forgettable. But we talked about how much of a pain in the ass he was, and this actually might work out for Zach Arnett, who back at Mississippi State. I mean, really just put in an awful situation with Mike Leach's sudden passing before the bowl game. And instead of doing the big search, they just promoted him to head coach. This guy, he just feels like he's best as a career defensive coordinator. And I think, you want to go back to talking about scheme? The 3 deep safety look might be something that becomes more prominent in college football. I forget who the other one that's bringing this to the SEC?
Zach Arnett, Mississippi State.
And but there was another one that, and I can't. It's escaping me right now.
Do you remember there was a push for that 3-2-6 there for a while? because that's what Iowa State. That's the defense they ran when,
Mm-hmm.
and that stopped all like the Big 12 offenses and gave like when
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley was humming at Oklahoma, gave them some fits. There was
Right.
like Lane Kiffin ran that for a little bit, and then it kind of got. It was like, well, we're too light in the front,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Uh, but it basically like put somebody in the middle of the field where it was like you have to run the ball, like you're just gonna have to run. Um, so that was a fad and a thing. I would say like 2021, that was a big like that
Mm-hmm.
was happening a lot. 2021, 2022, 23, that was popular. Um, but I think what you're seeing a lot now, Nick, is like just a basis of a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5, however you want to classify it. And then on third down, it's really button up, brother, because we are bringing the heat. And that's really kind of the
Yeah.
defense. Like you look around the league, that's what all Vanderbilt plays like that. A&M played like that. Uh, Tennessee was playing like that with Tim Banks. We'll see what they do with Jim Knowles. Florida and like all their simulated pressure packages. You know, when Ron Roberts was there, that's how a lot of teams are playing defense in the league, and so I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
One other homecoming. He got fired and just moved his office down the hallway. Arnett at least left Starkville for a year or two. Brent Pry, fired head coach, now the defense coordinator. This has to be more awkward than even like Eddie Grand coming back to work for Stoops, but not as a coach. Little odd, but getting the gang back together with James Franklin at Virginia Tech, just such an unusual situation. Like it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are a few names in this list of coordinators that I don't think people are prepared for, and one that I even forgot about. Gary Patterson is the
Yeah,
USC defensive coordinator.
and a big year, like a hot seat season potentially.
Yeah, like that. I mean, was awesome for years. And did they? How did that end at TCU? I can't recall.
It was basically like the administration said it's time. Is
Yeah,
my
it's been too
recollection.
long.
Time to
And
move
he,
on, and they hired Sonny Dykes.
yeah, and he was doing the thing at Texas that Mark Stoops is doing right now, and now he's going to be the
Yes.
defense
Well, he
coordinator at
was like
USC.
off and on. He did it at Texas one year. He went somewhere else. I can't remember, and was just like kind of barely doing it. And Danton Lynn left USC for Penn State, his alma mater. He's going to be
Mm-hmm.
Matt Campbell's defensive coordinator at Penn State, and basically that's who Lincoln decided that's what we're doing. And I mentioned that 4-2-5. He was like the godfather of all that.
Yeah,
So like a lot of these defenses now are what he was doing. So maybe he's trying to
yeah.
microwave that a little bit. But yeah, all of that. Speaking of Sonny Dykes, he did an interesting thing. I'm just going to say this right now. He did an interesting thing where he hired Gordon Samus, who was UConn's offensive coordinator, who's like this pro style guy. But they had like a 3,000 yard passer, 1,200, 1,300 yard rusher. They had a bunch of good receivers with numbers, and they only had like 5 turnovers last year, Nick.
Hmm.
Like UConn had a really good season the last 2 years, but Samus was the guy driving that, and he's going to be their offensive coordinator. So they're totally transitioning offensively. But he's a name, I think, like he's on Adam Luckett's list of like
Okay.
risers. So I'm interested to see how that plays out at TCU. I think TCU's like a playoff dark horse potentially, if they hit if Samus comes in there and ignites that offense. And Dykes, I think he's a good coach. I think he knows what he's doing. And so I thought that was a very interesting hire.
Two coaches that you're familiar with, seen quite often. Mark Stoops going to be working for Will Muschamp at Texas. He's going to be spitting all over the place. He like took a year off to watch his kid play high school football. He was previously at Vandy
Right.
with Clark Lee. We all know Petrino is at North Carolina. Billy Edwards is going to be his quarterback. North Carolina, never a dull moment. I think our friend Connor O'Gara said it's tells you something about a program when Bobby Petrino is the most stable thing about your program. That's going to be fun to watch. And then Mike Stoops going to show up on the sidelines or maybe in the box at Ole Miss this fall. But as we get ready to sign off, the NFL ones I think are some of the more fascinating ones. Matt Patricia going down to Ohio State worked, but man, Arthur Smith, I had to watch his god awful offense last year at Pittsburgh. And now he's just got the most electric player in college football to throw it up to this year. So, like, What is Arthur Smith bringing to Ohio State? Who knows? Does he still have the mustache?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just fascinated by this, what Ryan Day is doing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's basically like failed NFL coaches come to this blue blood program
NFL head coaches.
Come to this blue blood program where you're going to have a talent advantage. You're going to be coaching NFL players.
Mm-hmm.
We've got NFL rules now, game rules.
Yep.
Come here and, recreate yourself. Like, to me, this is a version of Saban's old, the old QC, the old, like the rehab school he had going on, where all these guys went there and then went on and to have success. Like Sark did it at Texas at Alabama. Like, he did that. So, like, it's interesting what's going on there. And it's also like, I think Day is maybe angling for an NFL job by doing this. Right? Like, potentially. But I think I'll be interested to see what other schools do this. Because I think, like, if Ohio State has another big year like they've had, really the last couple, because I think you could even throw Chip Kelly into this, because he was running NFL offense at Ohio State. It wasn't necessarily the Oregon offenses. I think you could see some other schools maybe try to do this if this works. So I could see some other big schools maybe like, Texas. Well, what happens if Sark wants to give up play calling? Would he just go get, whoever? Whoever. I think interesting. I think it's interesting and something to watch for here moving forward. Because the thing about it too, Arthur Smith is not a recruiting position.
No,
he does not recruit. All that dude does is he's an NFL coach. He's just calling up ball plays. Like, that's all he's doing, and he's got if it works, like, I think that could be a movement.
One other NFL coach who's in the college ranks, he popped up on the Twitter timeline not too long ago. Chip Kelly's bringing his hard hat to the new Ryan Field at Northwestern. And I love this description of Chip Kelly whenever they landed Aiden Childs. The head coach, Ryan Braun, he told this to Max Olson. Chip is not a naturally excitable person, but he was fired up. Not naturally an excitable person. Chip Kelly, that guy. It's just hard to imagine the same guy who was the revolutionary guy that changed college football at Oregon, like where he is now, and like what happened at UCLA. I find a hard time believing that'll work at Northwestern, but hey, it'll look pretty in that new stadium of theirs. So
cool stadium, really cool what they've done there.
Yeah. So we went a little bit longer than expected. A little TRO madness
stuff happens. Head on a swivel.
Yeah, always gonna have your head on a swivel. We hope you enjoy the little extra juice of this weekend, the final weekend without college football. We hope we were able to prepare you for it all, give you a little bit of insight on where all these players and coaches have moved around this fall. It's been fun going 5 days a week with you. We'll have plenty more with you Monday kickoff luncheon. So who knows? We might be at Churchill Downs podcasting on Monday. And got a former UK great joining us next week as well. So should be a lot of fun. Thanks for locking in with 11 Personnel. We'll be back on Monday. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Kroger.